My daughter-in-law blocked me, but didn't know I was paying off her secret credit card debt. It started on a Tuesday morning around 9:30. I remember the time because I had just finished watering the ferns on my front porch and decided to check Facebook for updates about my grandson Liam's school performance. There was a photo I had seen earlier that week, him in his little uniform, holding up a spelling bee ribbon. I wanted to comment again, maybe just a little, "So proud of you," with a heart emoji. Nothing big, but when I tried to find the post, it was gone. I clicked on my daughter-in-law Megan's profile. Nothing. Blank. It didn't say add friend or follow. It just said, "This content isn't available." My heart sank. I clicked again, thinking it was some kind of glitch. Then, I checked my son Eric's page. Same thing. Blocked. I was blocked. Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I sat there on my sofa, the fan blowing gently from the window unit, and stared at the screen like it had insulted me to my face. I hadn't even spoken to Megan recently. The last time we talked was a short phone call about a month earlier when I asked if Liam had liked the birthday present I sent, a Lego set he'd been asking for. She was polite, brief, said thank you. Nothing strange. Or at least I didn't think so at the time. I called Eric. It rang once, then voicemail. I waited. A minute, tried again. Straight to voicemail this time. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat in the quiet living room, holding my phone, realizing that somewhere along the line, I had been erased. Around noon, I decided to go through my mail, needing to distract myself. I opened a few envelopes, some coupons, a charity newsletter, the power bill, and then found a thick statement from my bank. I usually toss those aside, since most of my payments are automated, and I've always trusted the numbers. But something made me open it. Page after page of transactions, and then one stood out. WellShield Card Services. Payment received. $685. My brow furrowed. I don't have a WellShield credit card. Another entry. WellShield payment. 650 Kraswar. The dates were monthly, always around the 5th. I pulled the last 3 months of statements from my desk drawer and laid them out. Each one showed a similar payment, between $600 and $700, like clockwork. I sat up straighter. This wasn't right. I called the bank. After verifying my identity and getting through the usual hold music, a young man named Marcus helped me pull up all automatic transactions. He was polite but sounded nervous when I asked who exactly was tied to the WellShield payments. Ma'am, it's an authorized secondary user under your name. A Megan Roth." I paused. Megan Roth. "My daughter-in-law." He continued. "It looks like the account was added to your profile 2 years ago. It was set up through a co-signature agreement at the branch. Do you want to cancel the linkage?" "No," I said quietly. "Not yet." I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there. I had co-signed that account. 2 years ago, Eric and Megan had come over one Sunday afternoon, sat down in my kitchen, and asked me if I could help them get a credit card. Megan's credit wasn't good, and Eric didn't qualify for anything decent with his student loans. They just wanted something small, for emergencies. She said it would be paid on time, and they'd close it within a year. I remember that afternoon. I'd made banana bread. Megan had complimented my new curtains and laughed at my old landline phone. They looked sincere, desperate even. I wanted to help, and now I was blocked, deleted. But not forgotten, at least not when it came to their bills. The next day, I walked to the branch in person. I asked for a printout of the payment history on the card. The clerk gave me a look, before going to the back to print the files. When she returned, she handed me a manila envelope. Inside, 16 pages of charges, designer handbags, spa visits, online purchases from home decor stores I'd never even heard of, a trip to Miami, first-class flights, and always paid on time. By me. I walked out of that bank with the envelope pressed against my chest and sat in my car for nearly 15 minutes not moving. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. I waited. Then he said, "Can I bring Liam over this weekend?" "Yes," I said. "Just you and him," I figured. "I'll drop him off Saturday at 10. "Good." He paused again. "Megan doesn't want me to. She said you're trying to turn him against her." "I'm not," I replied. "But if he sees me now, he'll know who stayed honest." Saturday came. At 10 a.m. sharp, Eric pulled into my driveway. Liam jumped out of the car, a backpack slung over one shoulder. He ran up and hugged me before I could even open the screen door. Eric stayed near the car. "I'll be back at 5, he said, avoiding eye contact. "That's fine." He drove off. Liam and I spent the whole day together. We played board games, made grilled cheese sandwiches, and watched an old movie he hadn't seen before. Around 3 p.m., he looked up from the coloring book we were working on and asked, "Grandma, why did Mom say you were mad at us?" I didn't lie. "Because I didn't like how she treated me." He blinked. "She said you were confused." "I wasn't confused. I was quiet. That's different." He looked at the drawing in front of him and kept coloring. "I'm glad you're not mad at me." I never was. At 5 p.m., Eric returned. He didn't come inside. He waited by the car. Liam waved goodbye and got in without any drama. Eric met my eyes as he closed the car door. He nodded once. Then they left. That evening, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea and no television on. The house was calm, and I realized something important. I hadn't just protected my money. I had protected my space, my voice, my name. Megan had tried everything: manipulation, silence, guilt, threats. But in the end, none of it worked, because I stopped giving them the tools to use against me. On Monday, I received a letter from the bank confirming Megan's full account had gone into collections. The balance was now entirely under her name. They had closed the file on my end permanently. My lawyer confirmed the protection orders were in place. No one could add themselves to my financials without my physical presence and signature. The system worked, but only because I had stopped, waiting for anyone to do the right thing. A week later, I got another call. This time it was from Megan herself. "I want to talk," she said. "No, you owe me 5 minutes. I don't owe you anything." She paused. "You ruined my reputation." "No," I said calmly. "You did that. I just stopped covering. For you. You'll never see Liam again. That's not your decision, and you don't scare me anymore." I hung up. It was the last time she tried to contact me. Eric didn't try to defend her again. He started bringing Liam once every 2 weeks, sometimes for the afternoon, sometimes overnight. He didn't stay long, but he always looked more tired than before. Whether that was from guilt or consequences, I didn't ask. One Friday afternoon, after picking Liam up, Eric stood on my porch and said, "I moved out." I didn't say anything. I just waited. She said I betrayed her by not choosing sides. But I wasn't choosing anyone. I just couldn't lie anymore. I nodded. "I don't know what happens next," he added. "That's not your biggest problem anymore," I said. "Now you get to rebuild the right way." He didn't respond, just nodded, turned, and walked to the car. As they drove away, I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel sadness either. I just felt done. Everything they'd taken, my trust, my money, my reputation, I had taken back, piece by piece. Megan never saw it coming, because like most people who only take, she assumed. I would never stop giving, but I did, and I never looked back. I answered that one. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then her voice, sharp and loud. "What are you doing?" "Protecting myself." "You're blowing this out of proportion. You made your point. You canceled the card. Fine. But now you're trying to humiliate us?" "No, Megan. You tried to use my medical insurance. That's insurance fraud. That's not a misunderstanding. You don't understand how hard it is for us. We've been stretched thin for months. You just cut us off without any backup. I gave you 2 years of backup, without my knowledge." She kept going. "You're destroying our lives. We have bills, school fees, car maintenance. Eric's working late every night just to stay afloat." "I'm not responsible for your lifestyle," I said. You planned it. You live with it. You think this makes you look strong? She snapped. Everyone is talking. My family thinks you've lost it. That's fine. Let them talk. You're going to regret this. I already regretted helping you. That's why I stopped. Click. She hung up. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote everything down. The attempted insurance fraud, the call, the tone she used, the threats. I forwarded the details to my lawyer that same evening. The next morning, my neighbor Sheila dropped by with a basket of apples from her garden. She stepped into the kitchen and said casually, "I saw Eric's car here last weekend. Things getting better?" I didn't go into details. I just said, "We had a conversation. That's all." She nodded. "I hope it doesn't bother you, but Megan has been saying some things at the PTA about you, that you're unstable, that you've been cutting off Liam for no reason." I closed my eyes for a second, nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me. I figured it wasn't true," Sheila added. "You're the one who helped them move in, right? Co-signed their car lease? Paid for Liam's piano lessons?" "Yes." She leaned forward. "Then don't worry. People notice. They're not as quiet as they think." After she left, I opened my laptop. I wrote a short, direct post on my Facebook page. No emotion. No long explanation. To all family and friends, I have made the decision to no longer provide financial support to Eric Roth and Megan Roth. For over 2 years, I paid off credit card debt, school costs, and living expenses without acknowledgement or consent. My accounts are now secured, and I will not tolerate further misuse of my name, identity, or resources. If you have questions, feel free to ask me directly. I will not address hearsay or gossip. I clicked post. Within minutes, the comments started. Some were shocked, others were supportive. A few tried to stay neutral, but no one doubted what I wrote. I didn't do it for attention. I did it because Megan had been controlling the narrative long enough. This time, I told the truth myself. That night, my phone buzzed again. It was a new number. The message read, "You really want to drag this out publicly? You'll ruin your own reputation, too." No name. But I knew who it was. I blocked the number and reported the threat to my lawyer. There was no guilt this time. No hesitation. No internal debate. They had crossed too many lines. And now every attempt to push back was only giving me more proof that I had made the right decision. 3 weeks had passed since I posted the statement on Facebook. No more late-night calls. No more blocked number threats. No more false invitations to talk things out. The silence felt deliberate and earned. But then, one Tuesday morning around 8 a.m., my phone rang. This time, it was Eric. I hesitated before answering. "Hello? Mom?" He said, "I'm at the courthouse." I sat up. "What do you mean?" He took a breath. "We got served. WellShield is suing Megan for non-payment. They're coming after her directly now. I just wanted to let you know, since they had your name on the original co-signature." Stomach tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "My attorney filed a release of obligation 6 weeks ago. The bank accepted it. My name is no longer attached to that account. I know," he said. "They confirmed it, but Megan's a wreck. She says you humiliated her, that your Facebook post made it worse. That post was the only reason." People stopped believing her version. He didn't argue that. "Liam's asking why we're fighting. He should ask his mother. I'm trying to keep things civil. I really am." "Then stop letting Megan speak for you." He went. "Quiet, quiet." I raised my eyebrows. "You mean like how you embarrassed me at the spa? Or how you told people I was mentally unstable because I stopped paying your bills?" Megan didn't respond. Eric sat back in his chair, rubbing his temple. "I didn't come here for drama," I said. "I came to say this, clearly. I'm not going back. I'm not reopening the account. I'm not funding anything else. You can tell anyone you like. But this time, I have the truth and the proof." Megan opened her mouth to reply, but I held up my hand. "I'm not finished." She closed her mouth. I continued. "You don't have to like me, but you'll respect my boundaries. No more charges in my name. No more access to anything. No more lies. Eric looked up. And Liam? You're still his parents. If you want me to be part of his life, you'll arrange visits. But I won't beg to see my grandson, and I won't go through Megan to do it. Megan looked offended. I never stopped you from seeing Liam. You blocked me from everything. That's the same thing. She looked at Eric like she wanted him to say something, to jump in and defend her. He didn't. Dinner ended 15 minutes later. It was the shortest family meal I'd ever had. When I stood up to leave, Liam followed me to the door. He hugged me again, then whispered, "Are you coming to my soccer game?" I looked over at Eric. "Will I be allowed to?" Eric nodded slowly. "I'll text you the schedule." "Good," I said. "Then yes, I'll be there." Megan stayed silent by the kitchen counter. She didn't say goodbye. I got into my car and sat there for a moment before starting the engine. My hands weren't shaking. My voice hadn't cracked. And for the first time, I hadn't let guilt change my mind. They had tried to bury the truth under politeness and invitations. But I wasn't there for performance. I was there to end it. And I did. The week after the dinner passed quietly, but it didn't take long for the real consequences to begin. On Tuesday morning, I got a call from my bank's fraud department. "Mrs. Roth, this is Alan from Capital Security. I wanted to inform you that someone attempted to use a deactivated card tied to your account. It was declined, but we've flagged the attempt as suspicious since the account had already been closed." I sighed. "Was it a Wells Shield card ending in 7842? "Yes, ma'am. I know who it was. I don't need to open a case. Just continue blocking it and let me know if it happens again." He paused. "Are you sure you don't want to press any charges?" "I'm sure. For now." I hung up. The pattern was clear. Megan had either not believed I was serious, or she thought I'd cave and reopen the card out of embarrassment. She had miscalculated both things. At 1:17 p.m. that same day, I got a text from Eric. "Eric, why is Megan locked out of the account again? She tried to pay Liam's aftercare with the card and it was declined." Me. "Because she's not authorized. And that card is closed." Eric. "You could have told us. We thought you were trying to move forward." Me. "I told you at dinner. Megan has no access. That's final." Eric. "We needed that card this week. Now we're behind." Me. "Then it's time you start planning for your expenses." He didn't reply. The next day, I was at the pharmacy picking up my medication when I noticed something strange. At the register, my health insurance card flagged a verification alert. The pharmacist looked confused. "Ma'am, do you have a secondary on this policy?" "No," I said immediately. "Why?" "Well, there was a recent attempt to add a dependent named Megan Roth. It was denied, but it flagged your file." I felt my face get hot. "Denied?" "Yes. The system caught a mismatch and blocked it." I thanked her, took my medication, and left. In the parking lot, I pulled out my phone and called my insurance provider. After a 30-minute call, they confirmed what I already suspected. Megan had tried to list herself as a dependent on my medical policy. She wasn't just bold. She was desperate. I didn't contact Eric. I didn't ask for an explanation. I went straight to my lawyer and reported the attempt. She added a fraud alert to my policy and flagged Megan's name across all of my accounts: insurance, banking, and retirement. "You want to pursue legal action?" my lawyer asked. "Not yet," I said. "But I want everything documented. Every attempt." By Friday, the phone calls started again. First, it was Eric. I let it ring. Then Megan. "I'll call next week. About Liam." "I'd like that." He paused in the doorway. I meant what I said. "I'm sorry." And then he left. The house was quiet again. I sat down and let the moment sink in. The cracks were finally showing. The image Megan had tried so hard to build, that I was some distant, bitter old woman too unstable to be in their lives, was starting to collapse under the weight of the truth. I didn't plan on running around correcting every rumor. I wasn't interested in revenge or drama. But I had drawn the line. And now, for the first time in a long while, I wasn't the one left out of the conversation. They were just realizing I had a voice of my own. It had been 4 days since Eric showed up at my door. He hadn't called about Liam yet. I wasn't surprised. I figured Megan was doing what she always did, controlling the situation from behind the scenes. I knew she wouldn't let this go quietly, and I was right. On Saturday morning, I got an email from Eric. Not a call, not a text, an email. Subject: Family dinner, Mom. Megan and I are hosting dinner this Sunday at 6 p.m. We'd like you to come. Just us and Liam. We want to clear the air. Eric, it was short. Too short. I stared at the screen for a full minute. No apology. No real explanation. Just an invitation wrapped in vague intentions. Still, I responded. Subject: family dinner, I'll be there. Mommy wasn't going for closure. I wasn't going for reconciliation. I went because I wanted to see how far they would go to protect the lie, or if they'd finally stop pretending altogether. Sunday evening, I arrived right on time. Their house was quiet from the outside, not a car on the street. I parked, stepped out, and rang the doorbell. Megan opened it. She smiled like nothing had ever happened. Hi. Come in. Liam's in the living room. I stepped inside. The house was spotless. Candles were lit, music playing low. They had gone out of their way to make it look normal, like this was just another Sunday dinner. Except it wasn't. Eric greeted me with a handshake, like we were colleagues. Megan gestured toward the table. Dinner's almost ready, she said, already walking back to the kitchen. Liam came into the room a minute later. He ran up and hugged me, tight. That alone made the visit worth it. I held on to him a little, longer than usual. He looked up at me and asked, Grandma, why weren't you at my play? I didn't answer. I just brushed his hair back and said, I missed you. Dinner was served 20 minutes later. Chicken, rice, salad, everything laid out perfectly. No one talked much as we filled our plates. Eric cleared his throat once, then again, but didn't say anything. Finally, Megan put her fork down. So, she started, looking straight at me. I guess we should talk. I nodded. Yes, we should. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Eric told me you were upset about the card. I just want to say, I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding. If, I repeated, you were using my account without telling me. That's not a misunderstanding. Megan tilted her head. I thought we had your permission. You had it 2 years ago. You didn't have it last month. Or the month before. Or the month before that. Eric stayed quiet, staring at his plate. Megan tried again. It wasn't malicious. We were trying to keep things stable, and you've always helped before. I just assumed. You assumed I'd keep paying even after you blocked me, after you told people I was unstable. Her mouth twitched slightly. I didn't say that. You did. I've heard it from at least 3 people. Megan took a breath, kept her voice calm. That was a mistake. I didn't mean it that way. You meant it enough to repeat it, I said. Let's stop pretending this was a slip-up. Eric finally spoke. Can we not make this worse? We're trying to move forward. I looked at him. Then be honest. What was the plan? Let her use the card until I noticed? Wait until I passed away so you wouldn't have to explain anything? He didn't answer. I have all the documents, I said. Every statement. Every charge. You were using my name to live a life you couldn't afford. Megan frowned. It's not that simple. It is, I said. And I'm done with it. She leaned forward. Okay, but do you have to keep punishing us? Is that what this is about? Punishment? You cut off the card? Fine, but then you blocked us. You told people things. You embarrassed us. Another was from some woman named Jenna, apparently a friend from Megan's office. Hi. I know this is awkward, but I work with Megan. She told me about the situation and how hard it's been for her, with you withdrawing support, so suddenly, I hope things can be repaired. Family is important. Family is important. That phrase again. Funny how people start throwing that around only when the money disappears. I listened to all 6 messages that night, one after another. All of them had the same undertone. You hurt Megan. You should reconsider. You're the one causing trouble. None of them asked what I had been through. None of them even questioned why I had done what I did. And then, Friday afternoon, the doorbell rang. It was Eric. He hadn't come by in person in months. The last time was a quick drop-off for Liam's school fundraiser. This time he stood at my door with his hands in his jacket pockets and his mouth pressed into a thin line. I opened the screen door. "Did you call first?" "No," he said. "I figured you'd hang up." "Depends on what you're here to say." He didn't smile. He just looked tired and angry. "Can I come in?" I thought about it for a moment, then stepped aside. He walked into the living room and sat on the edge of the couch, just like he used to as a teenager when he was in trouble. I didn't offer him coffee. I didn't ask if he was hungry. I sat down across from him. "You've made things really difficult for us," he said after a pause. "You made things difficult for me first," I replied. "You just didn't notice." His jaw clenched. "Megan's not sleeping. She's worried. Sick. We've got bills piling up. Liam's tuition is due next month, and now the card is gone." That card was never hers to begin with. She used it because we were trying to build stability. "No," I said firmly. "She used it for spa appointments, handbags, and plane tickets. That wasn't stability. That was indulgence. And you let it happen." Eric looked away. "You don't understand. You've never had to support a family with a kid in a private school and a mortgage, and I raised you on less than half of what you two spend in a month." I cut in. "Don't talk to me about pressure. You had support. You had help. And instead of showing gratitude, you blocked me and let your wife make a fool out of me." His face turned red. "I never told her to block you. But you didn't stop her. And you didn't speak up when she told people I was mentally unstable." That caught him off guard. His expression shifted from defensive to surprised. "She said that?" "Yes, Eric. To neighbors, to people in the community center. I know what she's been telling people." He didn't respond. He sat with that for a moment. Then, finally, he exhaled. "We didn't expect it to blow up like this," he said. "We just thought you were—" He stopped himself. "What? Too old to figure it out? Too quiet to speak up?" He looked down at his hands. "Mom," he said finally, "you raised me better than this." I nodded. "I did." Another long silence. "She's not a bad person," he said. "She just panicked. We've been juggling a lot, and when you cut things off, it felt like you were trying to hurt us." "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone," I said. "I was trying to protect myself. And Eric, I'm not a piggy bank. I'm not a silent investor in your marriage." "I know. Do you?" I asked. "Because if you did, you'd have come here with more than excuses." He shifted uncomfortably. "So what now?" "Now," I said, "you deal with your own debts. You pay off what's left. You take responsibility, and you figure out how to raise your family without lying to the people helping you." He looked at me then, really looked at me. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't look like my little boy or Megan's husband. He looked like a man who had to grow up. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have stepped in sooner." "I'm not the one you need to apologize to," I replied. "But thank you." He stood up. "I don't expect you to forgive Megan." "I don't hate her, Eric. I just don't trust her. There's a difference." He nodded. "Can Liam still visit?" "Yes," I said. "But you bring him, not her." He hesitated. "That might be complicated." I raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "She thinks you're trying to turn me against her." I let out a humorless laugh. "If she believes that, then you have bigger problems than a canceled card." He didn't argue. He just turned to the door. Like I had removed myself out of spite or confusion. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about dignity. That evening, I poured myself a small glass of wine and sat in the kitchen, going through my planner. I had jotted down notes the day. Megan and Eric had asked for my help getting the card. July 12th, 2021. Eric and Megan came by. Asked if I'd help with a small credit card. Said it was only to build history, no balances. Megan cried. Promised I wouldn't ever be stuck with anything. Seemed sincere. I sat back and stared at the page. It had only been 2 years, and now I was completely erased from their lives except where my money had been involved. Around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Mom, what's going on? Megan said the card got declined and that it's your doing. Can you call me? I didn't respond right away. I let it sit. Then I wrote back. Yes, I canceled it. I've been paying it without my knowledge. It's over. No reply came. Not that night. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Eric. I let it go to voicemail. Then he called again and again. By the 4th call, I picked up. Mom, he said. What are you doing? What I should have done a long time ago, I answered calmly. He sighed hard. You embarrassed Megan at the spa. She had to walk out without her treatment. They made a scene. I'm not responsible for her spa treatments, Eric. She said you were part of the package. Well, I wasn't. There was a pause. Then he said something that stayed with me for days. You could have told us before just canceling everything. It felt vindictive. I let that word hang in the air. Vindictive. That's what he thought of me? You've both been using my account for over 2 years without even checking in. Then you block me on social media and tell people I'm having emotional troubles. But me protecting my own finances is vindictive? Another pause. I didn't block you. But you let her. And you said nothing. He didn't reply. I could hear his breathing fast and uneven. Maybe he was pacing, maybe he was angry. I didn't care. You can fix your own mess now, I said finally. I'm not going to fund your life behind my back. I'm not going to be disrespected quietly and keep paying for it. Mom, Megan didn't mean it like that. She thought I cut him off. She thought I was too dumb to notice, that I'd just keep sending money until the day I died. You both thought that. That's not fair. Neither is being used. He tried to pivot, change tone. What about Liam? Don't do this to him. I felt that sting, but I kept my voice steady. This isn't about Liam. You made sure. I couldn't see his pictures or talk to him. Megan did that, not me. He went quiet. Then, barely above a whisper, I'll figure something out. I hope you do, I said, because my part's over. I hung up. The weekend came and went. No calls, no texts. On Monday, I called my lawyer and asked to update my will. Eric was removed as executor. All remaining credit authorizations were revoked, and Megan's name was blacklisted from any future financial or legal transactions on my behalf. By Friday, I had closed the old account and moved my funds into a private institution with full fraud protection. It had taken me less than 10 days to undo 2 years of silent exploitation. I didn't cry. I didn't regret it. And when I walked past the living room and saw that photo of me and Liam at the zoo, him on my shoulders, pointing at the giraffes, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Because now, for the first time in years, I was invisible on their terms, but protected on mine. It didn't take long for the silence to break. By the following Wednesday, I started getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize, area codes from out of state, some from blocked lines. At first, I let them go straight to voicemail. But when I finally listened to a few, I realized Megan had started a new strategy. She wasn't just ignoring me or taking advantage of me anymore. Now she was trying to paint herself as the victim. One message was from her cousin Marissa, someone I hadn't spoken to since their baby shower. Hi, Mrs. Roth. This is Marissa. I just wanted to say I'm really sorry to hear about the family tension. Megan's really been struggling. I know you two had a misunderstanding about finances, but please don't let that ruin your bond with Liam. He needs you. From something else, something hot and sharp building in my chest that had nothing to do with sadness. That night, I made myself tea and sat down to read every page. Page 5, Tuscany Ridge Spa, 520 $. Page 7, Designer Lane, 120 Pazu hours, page 12. LuxuryCarSeats.com, 389. Not one grocery bill, not one medical copay, not one school supply. She had used the card like it was hers, and worse, like she'd earned it. I didn't sleep well. Around 3 a.m., I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, holding the photo of Liam from last Christmas. He was holding a model rocket we built together, smiling. His smile had nothing to do with Megan. It was our moment, mine and his. And then I remembered something else. The last time Eric brought Liam over to my house was nearly 6 months ago. Megan hadn't come. She said she was tired. He barely looked me in the eye when he dropped Liam off, and stayed no more than 10 minutes. It was rushed, cold, and now I knew why. She was spending my money while shutting me out of their lives. By morning, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to call and leave angry messages. I wasn't going to beg for access to my grandson. I was going to cut the cord. I made 3 calls. 1 to the bank to cancel Megan's account access, 1 to my attorney to revise the power of attorney and remove Eric's name, and 1 to a financial advisor to help me transfer the rest of my funds to a new institution entirely. I kept it quiet. I kept it clean. Megan might have blocked me on social media, but I was about to block her everywhere else. I didn't hear anything from them the next few days. Eric didn't call. Megan didn't show up at my door with excuses. And Liam, well, Liam was too young to understand the mess the adults were making around him. So I let the silence hang. I spent that Wednesday making copies of every bank document, every statement from the Wells Shield card, and every transaction history I could pull. I put them in a folder and labeled it with a piece of masking tape. Roth account. I wasn't planning on going to court, but I wasn't going to be the old fool who let herself get taken for a ride without leaving proof behind. By Thursday morning, the payments had been fully canceled. I got a confirmation call from the bank manager. His tone changed when he realized what had been happening. "You're not the first grandparent we've seen in this situation," he said. "But I'll make sure your name is removed entirely from any future exposure." I appreciated the honesty. At around noon, my landline rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but I picked it up anyway. A woman's voice, chipper and overly sweet. "Mrs. Roth? This is Amy from Royal Beauty Spa, just confirming your appointment for Saturday at 2 p.m. with Megan. We've got you both down for the Deluxe Mother-Daughter Treatment Package." I said nothing for a second. Then I cleared my throat. "I'm not attending. And Megan Roth will have to pay with her own card now. That account no longer exists." A pause. Then the woman's voice dropped. "Oh, all right. I'll make a note." She hung up quickly. They hadn't even used aliases. Megan had been charging joint spa appointments under my name like I was some eager participant in their monthly self-care routines. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Later that afternoon, I drove to the grocery store and ran into Barbara, a woman I used to play bridge with on Tuesdays. She looked me up and down like I had a stain on my blouse. "Haven't seen you with Megan and Liam lately," she said, adjusting her sunglasses on top of her head. "Everything okay?" I smiled politely. "Megan's been busy, and Liam's in school now, of course." "Oh, I only asked because Megan mentioned on Facebook that you'd been going through some emotional trouble. Said you were stepping back from the family for a bit." I froze. Emotional trouble? That was the narrative? I nodded slowly. "Well, you know how social media is." Barbara leaned closer. "Listen, I probably shouldn't say this, but last week Megan was at the community center fundraiser. Someone asked her why you weren't around, and she just smiled and said, 'Some people don't know when it's time to let go.'" Let go of what? My own family? I thanked Barbara and pushed my cart forward, my chest tight. So she wasn't just blocking me. She was rewriting the story in public, making me sound unstable.